In his 10th year of reign, another rebellion happened in Dojijuyeup. So Dan Gun told Yeo Sugi to kill the head of it, Sosimo. This was when the place began to be called Sosimo, but it has now been called Wosuguk. Hyep Ya No, one of the descendants of Sosimo, crossed the sea and went to Samdo, where he declared himself a Cheon Hwang. In his 45 year of reign BC 2138, Leuk Dan Gun died, and Prince Ohsagu became the fourth Dan Gun and ruled his kingdom for 38 years. In BC 2137, Ohsagu Dan Gun appointed his younger brother Ohsadal as the king of Mongolia. This shows that Mongolia came from the Joseon kingdom. After inspecting the northern part of the kingdom in October, Ohsagu Dan Gun returned and practiced a ritual service on the top of Taebaek Mountain. Then he got ginsengs, which were said to be the things for the legendary hermits. There's a saying that the legendary hermits are immortal because they ginseng. There was a rumor that something mysterious but good happened to those who ate ginseng. In the 5th year of his reign, people used shells with holes as coins. In August, people from the Ha Kingdom came and paid tribute to Dan Gun, and then they got ginseng from Dan Gun and returned. In October, the central and local governments carved the kingdom's laws in stone to let people know and follow them. In the 7th year of his reign, shipbuilding places were constructed in Salsu. In the 19th year of his reign, Sang, the king of the Ha Kingdom, lost the trust of Dan Gun, so he let Shikdal conquer the Ha Kingdom with 3 military units, Ram, Jin, and Bayan. All the other kingdoms who heard the news began to obey Dan Gun. In the 38th year of his reign BC, 2100 Ohsagu Dan Gun died in June. Then Gegagwel became the 5th Dan Gun and ruled Joseon for 16 years. In the 1st year of his reign BC, 2099, he built an altar on top of the mountain Taebaek and sent people to practice a ritual service there. In May, the 2nd year of his reign, there was a large swarm of locusts in the crop fields. After checking it out himself in the fields, Gegagwel Dan Gun prayed to Sam Shin to solve the problem. Prayer was answered, and all the locusts disappeared a few days later. In the 4th year of his reign, an almanac was made using the sexagenary cycle for the first time. In the 8th year of his reign, Shin Doken drifted into the east beach of the Korean peninsula. In the 16th year of his reign BC, 2084, Gegagwel went to Jangdangyang, built Sam Shin Dan, and planted Hwanhwa around the altar. In July, he crossed the river Pungro and arrived in Songyang in the southern part of his kingdom. However, he contracted a disease all of a sudden and then died. So, his funeral took place in Daebaksan. Then, Dalmun from Woga was chosen as the next king. Dalmun, the 6th Dan Gun, ruled the kingdom for 36 years. In BC 2046, the kings from all the neighboring kingdoms gathered together and had a ritual service to God on the mountain, Guwol, in Sangchun. Dalmun let Shinji Bali write Seo Hyo Sa. Seo Hyosa states as follows. Sam Shin appeared in a place that had sunrise earlier than any other place. The virtue that Hwan In first started in caring for people was deep and extensive. God chose Hwan Wang and sent him to the east so that he could open a new sky, following the way Hwan In ruled his kingdom, the first country in human history. After Chai Wu moved its capital city to Chonggu, he became known as the King of War. All the kings of the kingdoms in Hode obeyed him. Nobody dared to challenge him. As Wang Gum began a new kingdom, Joseon, according to the providence of heaven, all the people got pleased. They felt like they got a second life as the fish returned to the water. The virtue and the teachings of Dan Gun renewed the world. People could satisfy their grudges and cure their diseases. They also could love and respect each other. This way, the world became bright. Led by Jin Han, the Joseon kingdom developed a new ruling ideology. Mohan took the left side of the kingdom, and Bianhan took the lower part, which was the southern part. Later, the mountainous place Sangchun, which Daomon once visited, became the capital city. 3 parts of the kingdom could be compared with the 3 parts of a scale. Baekagang was like a weighing pan. Samalang was like a weighing beam. And Uek Yang was like a weight. So, when they kept their balance, they could preserve the Spirit of God. The kingdom was so influential that the 70 other kingdoms in the area obeyed Joseon. By keeping Samhan's system, Donggun could rule Joseon effectively. The rises and falls of kingdoms depend on how well they serve God. Daomon Dan Gun took an oath, and the kings from other kingdoms participated in the ritual service to follow Han Guk's and Shin Shi's teachings. Humans are the primary reason for having a ritual service to heaven, and the most important reason for building a proper way of ruling a kingdom is to feed our people. So agriculture is the base of everything, and a ritual service is the base of all teachings. People should work hard on farming and also take care of each other. Daomon Dan Gun also said, "Forgive and release prisoners, abolish the death penalty, protect the border of our kingdoms, keep the Hua Baek system, get along, and share things in peace. Be humble and develop your character, because that's the start of the benign ruling." There were 2 big kingdoms, 20 small kingdoms, and 3,624 tribes who swore to pay tribute to Dan Gun. In the 36th year of his reign, Dan Gun died, and Han Yul from Gaiga succeeded him. Han Yul, the 7th Dan Gu, ruled his kingdom for 54 years. After he died, Wu Seo Han became the next Dan Gun. The 8th Dan Gun, Wu Seo Han, ruled the kingdom for 8 years. In the first year of his reign BC, 1993, he imposed a tax that was 1/20 of their income and tried to cover the gap between the rich and the poor. There was a good harvest in the 2nd year of his reign. A blade of rice produced 8 grains of rice. In the 4th year of his reign, disguised in dress, he crossed the border to check out the situation of the Ha Kingdom. After returning, he implemented reforms in government organizations. In the 7th year of his reign, a Sam Jok-o flew into the yard of his palace. The length of its one wing was 3 ja. He died in the 8th year of his reign, and his son Ohsagu succeeded him as the 9th Dan Gun. He ruled the kingdom for 35 years. In the first year of his reign BC, 1985, Ohsadal Dan Gun carried out a merciful policy to criminals and the general public. He said, "The place where someone took a shit is dirty, but it will be swept away by rain anyway. So, leave the criminals alone and give them time." Then, Dan Gun touched criminals so much that they began to repent. One day, people found 2 suns in the sky. In the 2nd year of his reign, Wosuguk of Cheon Hwang attacked his palace. So Dan Gun Ohsadal took refuge in Sangchun and stayed at the bottom of the southern part of the mountain, Guwul. Then he let his men, Wuyi and Wawul, fight back and kill. 3 years later, he could go back to his old palace. In the 35th year of his reign, he died. Then, No Yul from Wuga succeeded him as the 10th Dan Gun and ruled his kingdom for 59 years. In the first year of his reign BC, 1,950 people began to raise livestock in a stable. In his 2nd year, No Yul Dan Gun often went to the kingdom's edges to check out the situations in remote areas. When No Yul was on the inspection tour, many wise men came to see him. In the 5th year of his reign, he tried to listen to the difficulties of his people by installing Shin One Mok, which people liked a lot. In the 16th year of his reign, some strange things happened in the kingdom. Lotus flowers in the field, which were 4 kilometers away from the east gate of the fortress, never withered. Some lying rocks stood up by themselves. Some mysterious turtle appeared from a river with a picture on its turtleback. The picture looked like jangi, the Korean version of chess. A bunch of gold bars was found on the beach of Balhae. The amount of gold was about 79,000 Oz.